Hello and a warm welcome to ITV News West Country with Bob and Alex.
Thank you for joining us. The headlines this Thursday evening. Hoping to hold on to number 10, the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak visits Gloucester Rugby Club as he looks to sway voters.
Our plan is the right one for the country, and actually we've been through a difficult couple of years. Of course that's the case, whether it's with COVID, recovering from that, the impact of the war in Ukraine, but at the start of this year we really have turned a corner.
And the Prime Minister will join us here in the studio to talk about the issues that matter to you in just a few moments. Also tonight,
we're soaking up the St Patrick's Day atmosphere at the Cheltenham Festival as it prepares to mark 100 years of the Gold Cup.
And as we head through the rest of this week, we are continuing with a bit of a showery theme, to say the least. More change of weather, still quite mild. I'll bring you the forecast, as always, at the end of the programme.
a very good evening and welcome to the programme. The Prime Minister has been in the region today as speculation mounts over when he'll call a general election.
During a visit to Gloucester Rugby Club, Rishi Sunak insisted the under-pressure Conservatives are improving the economy and are the party to stick with when voters head to the polls.
Well, as you can see, the Prime Minister is here with us in the studio this evening. In a moment, we'll be asking the questions that matter to all of us. But first, our political correspondent, Lucy McDade, has this report.
Rishi Sunak isn't throwing away any opportunity to play for votes. Today he was on the defence in a part of the West Country that's traditionally safe Tory territory.
I'm Rishi. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Very nice. You all ready for this big game tomorrow night?
Yes, yeah.
He met Gloucester rugby players as they gear up for a game tomorrow.
That is brilliant. That is brilliant. Let's get a look. Hang on, perfect. Right, look at that, Richard.
But the question for the man trying to hold on to the other number 10, is he warming up for a general election?
Well, I said at the start of this year my working assumption was we'd have an election in the second half of this year, and nothing has changed since I said that.
Labour took Kingswood from the Tories in the last brutal by-election last month. Polls predict a near wipeout for Rishi Sunak's party, and the man wanting to kick him out of number 10 is fighting hard.
You have to wonder what the point is of a Prime Minister who can't lead and a party that can't govern.
The PM has to call a general election within the year, and as things stand, he'll be going in as the underdog. But he won't stand any chance of winning at all if he can't keep his team together. Lucy McDade, ITV News.
Well, as you can see, the Prime Minister is with us. Thank you very much for joining us this evening in the studio.
Yeah,
well, very nice to see you.
Yeah,
thanks for having me, Alex. Nice to see you, Bob.
So first of all, we heard there at the end, no chance of winning if you can't keep your team together. That was where the video finished. So how will you keep your team together?
Well, actually, I think the Conservative Party is united in wanting to deliver for the country. And as you heard me talking a little bit earlier on, we've been through a difficult few years, and that's going to mean everyone's frustrated about things. We had a pandemic, war in Ukraine, impact on energy bills. But this year we have turned a corner and we're pointing in the right direction, and I believe people can start to feel that improvement. Our plans are delivering the change. Inflation has come down from 11% to 4%, wages are rising, mortgage rates and energy bills falling, and all of that has meant that we can now start cutting people's taxes, which you saw in the budget, an average worker getting a £900 tax cut. So we're on the right track now, and if we stick with it, there's a brighter future ahead.
That's not team though, is it? That's your policies. In terms of teamwork, people see bickering, they see somebody defecting to the other side. They see an MP just today saying somebody else should lead this.
Well, of course, everyone's going to have their own view. My job is to make sure that I can deliver for the country, and I've been out and about across Gloucestershire today talking to people, what they're focused on are probably the things that you want to talk to me about. What's happening with the cost of living, what are we doing to help them with their family finances, making sure that they can get the healthcare they need for their kids, making sure that the streets and the communities that we live in are safer, and what are we doing to tackle illegal migration. Those are all the things that people have been raising with me today. Those are the issues that matter, and I think on all of those things we are making progress after a difficult couple of years.
Well, should we talk
and my
about...
pitch is to stick with the plan.
Should we talk about the cost of living? Because we have been out speaking to people about how they feel at the moment, and all of those things that you've listed that are supposed to be making people's lives better, I'm not sure they're feeling that. We've been out speaking to some people in Swindon, and I think we can have a look now at what they had to say to us.
I've had to rely on food banks and rely on my parents. The hardest part about it is finding the courage to actually go to a food bank, where I've managed to support myself before.
I'm 24 years old, living in a hostel, fled from domestic abuse, and I've not even been put in a proper housing, and it feels like I'm being punished. The housing situation is just really, really bad, and there's not enough support out here.
So this is the main worry, what is the future going to hold with ever-increasing price increases, and there's no hold on. The government says that the food prices are stable, but I don't really see that, and other pensions don't do the same.
Electric, gas, everything, like money, food, everything you can rent, everything's gone up. I'm struggling with every single thing you can imagine, life's not easy, yeah.
So life isn't easy, people feeling worried. One person said they feel like they're being punished. That was just a snapshot of people we spoke to in about half an hour in Swindon. These people don't sound as if they feel like the policies that you're putting into action are actually making a difference for their lives.
Yeah, and look, it has been difficult. I'm the first person to say that. When you've got a war in Ukraine, just as you're recovering from a pandemic, inflation rockets up to 11%, a level that we hadn't seen in decades. Energy bills would have gone up to £4,500 had we not stepped in to support people, but they still went up considerably. Of course that's going to take its toll on everybody. Look, my job is to make sure, and the gentleman was talking about what's the future hold. Well, look, at the start of this year, things are improving, and it will take time for people to feel that. I get that, but look, these are the facts. Inflation has fallen from 11% to 4%. Mortgage rates are starting to come down. Energy bills have already started falling, and in just a couple of weeks, they'll fall by almost around £250. And for everyone in work, they're already benefiting from our tax cuts, £900 this year, half of which kicked in at the beginning of this year, and the other half will kick in a few weeks' time in April. So look, that is real progress that will help people. Actually, you had a pensioner there. But the pensions are going up by £900.
You talk about food inflation.
So those are practical things that will make a difference. And I think every week, every month that goes by, people will start to feel that difference. They'll see that the plans are working and that their lives are improving.
But when you talk about inflation coming down, the rate of increase is coming down, but food is still getting more expensive. And let's not forget that last year it was very high. I think the statistics show that from the Office for National Statistics that the price of food and non-alcoholic drinks rose by 25% over the past 2 years up to January this year. And inflation means that food is still getting more expensive. Wages aren't keeping up with that kind of increase, are they?
Well, actually, you've now seen for the past 6 or I think 7 months in the last set of data, for 7 months in a row, wages have grown faster than prices are growing.
Faster than prices, but the cost of food rose by so much last year that it can't overtake it.
Well, hang on. There's a lot of prices of some things that are coming down sharply. Energy being an obvious one. People talk about gas and electric. Energy bills were at £2,500. They're about to be considerably less than that in a few weeks' time. They're already quite a bit lower than that. So some things have come down already. Others will follow. Mortgage rates are coming down, as I said. Overall, though, for 6 or 7 months now, wages have grown faster than prices. And on top of that, we're cutting people's taxes.
When do you think people feel it,
Because
though?
that's, what you earn is one thing. We're then making sure that you can keep more of your hard-earned money, because I believe in a country where hard work is rewarded, and these tax cuts are meaningful.
But they hear that. They hear the announcements,
this year.
but they don't feel it. That's what we're hearing on the high street. They're saying it's been so long now, it's been so grim, we're just not feeling it.
Yeah, and well, as I said, we've been through a tough time, right? I mean, without a doubt, it's been really tough. But at the start of this year, we've turned a corner. I mean, these tax cuts are real. In everyone's payslip from January, they will see the benefit of the tax cut. And if you're on an average earnings of, say, 35k, which is the UK average, that's worth £900 to you this year. If you're a pensioner, like the gentleman we heard from, not only did you get an extra £300 over the winter as a cost of living top-up to help you with things like gas and electricity, you're getting a £900 increase in your pension. Because I also believe in a country where if you worked hard all your life, then you deserve dignity in retirement. And that's why we're committed to the triple lock, and all pensioners will receive that £900 increase.
Although they are very frightened about the national insurance affecting their pension. But let me move on to
But that's really important, Alex, because they absolutely don't need to be. They really shouldn't, and anyone who's scaremongering about that is wrong. It's got nothing to do with it. The pensions have been completely protected. Triple lock has been protected, and last year the state pension went up by around £900. This year, it's about to go up by around £900, and at the same time, we are cutting national insurance because it's unfair. There's a double tax on work, and that doesn't seem right to me. So we're cutting national insurance, and they said that will benefit millions of people in work.
I know something that you'll probably be very keen to talk about is knife crime, and you'll be so aware that this part of the country is
especially what's been happening in Bristol.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it feels like there haven't been 2 weeks have gone by without some atrocious
Yeah.
story on our news programmes this year.
Yeah, and of course in Gloucester, where you visited as well today, there's an image that we want to show you of all the young people who have been killed because of knife crime over the past couple of years. We want to play a little clip from the mother of a 16-year-old boy, Mikey Roynan, who was killed last year in Bath with a zombie knife carried by a 15-year-old.
And I can't believe kids carry those around with them. Like, where do they get them from? It's, yeah, shocking. I don't know what we need to do, but we can't keep doing this. We can't keep losing children. Kids are killing kids. Like, yeah, that can't keep happening.
Hayley Ryle speaking there. I mean, it's so moving to hear these things, isn't it? What do you think needs to change, Prime Minister?
Yeah, well, look, first of all, I'm a dad and I have 2 young girls, and as Hayley said, right, we can't have this keep going on because kids are killing kids, and that's what knife crime is particularly awful, because it's kids that are affected by it. So, look, we are making progress, and we've actually, knife crime overall has come down, partly because we've put more police officers on the street, 20,000 more officers, of which about 160 odd are in Gloucestershire, for example. Then we've given them more powers. Stop and search is helpful, and all of that has meant that we've taken about 100,000 knives out of the street. So all of that has helped contribute to the fall. But look, every child, every person who dies tragically to knife crime is a child too many, so we must keep doing more. So the couple of things that we are doing that I believe will help, you heard from Hayley, I think, zombie knives. So we are passing a new law to outlaw the new types of zombie knives, so that will help.
Are they already banned?
Yes, and look, these criminals keep adapting and evolving, so the new laws will mean that more knives are captured. The second thing is we're giving the police more powers. I meet police officers and they say sometimes we'd be in a house for some other reason and we might see a knife and we didn't currently have the powers to confiscate it, which is obviously silly. So we're now going to give them the powers so that if they think that the knife is going to be used, they'll be able to confiscate it, even if that's not the reason they were there. And we're toughening up sentencing. So Hayley talked about people who are selling to kids. The sentencing for that will go up, but also the sentences for possession of a knife will go up as well. So look, those are all the things that will help. And then that's the criminal justice side of it. I think the other thing we have to remember is making sure that kids have safe, enriching places to be
in the first place,
outside of
because
school.
It's not just about policing.
Exactly,
it's about giving children another path.
And that's
why
young
people at the moment are carrying knives. We saw a clip of one child carrying a knife in their pocket that was so long he couldn't even sit down on the bus.
But that's why I'm saying the other side, that is the criminal justice side of it. The other part of it is the work we're doing to invest in youth provision across the country in youth club. We have something called the Youth Endowment Fund. I actually announced it, I think, as Chancellor, and it's
you have a mountain to climb there, though. So much money has been cut from youth services.
Well, so we created a new fund that is providing support for hundreds of youth clubs up and down the country, and that will help mean that kids have somewhere safe and to go to in the school, outside of school and in the holidays, because that's the other side of the coin, as well as what we need to do on the policing side, which we are doing. And as I said, look, we have made progress. Knife crime has come down, but we've got to do more, and those are the things that we're doing.
At Gloucester today, you said something that we all sat up and thought, what's this? Is this an announcement? You definitely hinted at the second part of the year for the general election. Are you able to actually live here on ITV West Country?
Give us the exclusive.
Look, I totally get, actually, that I can see that the Labour Party are trying to whip up this idea that I'm about to call a general election, and that's because they want to avoid...
I think everybody wants to know.
No, it's very deliberate. Because look, that's because they want to avoid questions about how they're going to pay for all their spending commitments. We're a week on from a budget. They can't tell you how they're going to pay for things, and that means people's taxes are going to go up.
I think that's undermining the electorate.
No, but I don't want them to be able to do that. So look, in 7 weeks' time, we have local elections, including in Gloucester, where I was talking to them today. We have Police and Crime Commissioner elections, and we have mayoral elections. I'm squarely focused on those because they're important, and there's not going to be a general election on that day. But when there is a general election, actually what matters is the choice of that election, and people can stick...
It's November?
It's November.
Do you worry you haven't got the support you need right now, and that's why you're not calling it now?
But look, the key is, when we get to that election, the choice. And the choice is clear, because look, if you stick with our plan, we can deliver deliver the change that people want to see. They can feel that it's happening,
you're ruling out
and that
May?
means peace of mind for everybody.
You're ruling out
future.
May?
And the alternative, as I said, the Labour Party want to avoid these questions, is Keir Starmer's been Leader of the Opposition for 4 years, can't tell you what he's going to do differently, and that's because he doesn't have a plan. And that means people's taxes are going to go up. That's the clear choice at the election.
They do, I'm pretty sure, when they're watching at home, that does just turn people off. We don't want to hear you say that. We want to hear you say what you're going to do. We want to hear you say, and you have.
And we've been doing that all the time. But I think it's reasonable when you're asking me about the election that I can talk about the choice at that election. I'm not. I'm saying there's a clear choice. Right, there's a choice. And I can tell you what we're doing. Here's our plans that are cutting your taxes, increasing the pensions, building energy security.
Your choice is not to have an election in May when there are those other elections that you mentioned.
I said very clear. Look, in several weeks' time, we've got elections for police and crime commissioners, for local councils, for mayors across the country. They're important elections.
And not a general election.
That's what I'm focused on. There won't be a general election on that day. Yeah. But when there is a general election, what matters is the choice. As the choice is really clear, because our plans are working. We've been talking about the economy rightly in the cost of living. People will start to see that that is helping them. Taxes are being cut quite considerably. And the alternative is relevant, Alex. It's OK for me to talk about the alternative, I think, because people need to make an informed choice. And I'm being very clear and saying, look, we're going to cut your taxes. We're already delivering it. But if you're an opposition party and you're saying you're going to spend money on lots of things and you can't tell people how to pay for it, that's taking people for granted.
I totally accept that.
Right.
But I do think that I only say it because I think people don't want to know that it's Labour that's asking. I think it undermines the electorate to say that they're not asking. They're desperate to know because we're all on quicksand at the moment.
Do you know what? I've been out all day in Gloucestershire talking to people. Not a single person actually asked me about it. But what people did ask me about is what we're doing to help them with the cost of living. What are we doing to make sure that they can get the healthcare they need? Actually, I was at Cheltenham Hospital today with the brilliant Alex Chalk, who's not just saved the A&E there, but we were there to actually see the team because we've invested, the government's invested in a brand new surgical hub there that's opened just this week, getting the waiting list down, making an enormous difference to people. When I was last here, I was in Cornwall. There we've got the Royal Cornwall that's being upgraded. When I was in Devon, the Derriford Hospital's being upgraded. And we announced our plans for dentistry. People were talking to me about that today, because last time I was in the region, we announced our dentistry plan.
So will we see a lot more in the West?
We're going to see you a lot this year, aren't we?
These are the things that people are talking to me about.
So in the build-up to an autumn election, then we're going to see you a lot more here in the West Country.
Well, you're definitely going to see me here championing the things that we're doing, making it easier for people to get the healthcare they need in all of these places, and which I was visiting today, as I said. And also making sure that we can keep delivering on our plans to ease the cost of living, cut people's taxes, because I think that's what the country wants and needs. That's what we're delivering.
OK. Prime Minister, thank you very much for joining us in the studio this evening.
Brilliant. Very nice to see you.